Welcome to video 2 of our dplyr relational data verbs. Today we're going to be talking about mutating joins. This is a join that connects each row in the first input to 0, 1, or more rows in the second input. So we're going to start with inner joins, which connect pairs of observations when their keys are equal. So we've talked about keys. You should have gotten comfortable with keys by now. So now if I look at this variable x, it's got some sort of keying column and it's got some values associated with it. And I'm going to also enter a tibble for y. And if you're not familiar with the tribble, it's just a way to enter a tibble in a column-wise fashion. So it's easier to see what your entries are going to be. So if I look at y, there is y and there is x. So the keys are going to match for the first two items and not match for the last one. So if I do an inner join of x with y, I can do it either by piping. So I can do inner join of x with y. And now I don't have to specify. It's going to assume that I'm going to key off of whatever is the name of the variable that's in common between the two. So if this had been anything here, it could have been name for the two variables. As long as they were the same, it would have keyed off those. And you'll see what it kept are the ones that were in both. So it kept the first and the second entries because they were in both and added a column for the other variable. Okay, now I could do this same thing. I can tell it, I could do it without using the pipe. I could also do it by explicitly saying I want to do it. What do I want to do it by? Which variable is going to be used for the join? So I can specify if there's any doubt or if there's some that I don't want it to use, then I want to use that feature. Now we're going to move and talk about what we call outer joins. These are joins that keep all of the observations that are in at least one of the tables. So if I wanted to keep everything that's in the left table, I will use a left join. So for instance, I can left join x and y. And now I'm keeping all of the things that were in x. And where there's a key that matches in y, I put that observation in. But I put it in a where there was not a match. But you'll notice that the last element of y, which would have had a key of 4 and a value of y3, is not present. Okay. Now if I right join those same two, I will keep everything in y and add in x's where they match up. Now sometimes you want to do a full join, which means keep whatever is in either one. Okay, and you put NAs where there was not a match. So one of the things you're going to have to decide when you're trying to combine tables in this fashion is what type of join do you want to do. So it's worth thinking about first. Do I want to keep only those where there's entries in both tables? Do I want to keep everything in the left table and match it up with things from the right table? Or how do I want to do that? We're going to talk for just a second about how to handle duplicate keys. So this is when I don't have necessarily a unique value every time. Think about my flights data set, right? On every day of the year, I have, say, the same airline appears many, many times. So I might be wanting to add to that from a different data set and fill it out. But it only would have maybe one entry from each year. So here's a little play tibble that does that sort of thing. And you can also find this example in the online book, R4DS. And if I join these, if I left join what's going to happen? Well, every time there's a 2 in the x, right, I'm going to pull the thing from where the 2 was in the y. Okay, so you can see here there was one entry in x with a 2 and another one with the same 2. So those are all repeated, but where the 2 was, I repeat what was in the y. And if there wasn't a y to go with, say for 3, then I put an NA. Okay, if I had, for instance, repeats in the y as well, okay, so now I've got repeats in both, then my left join is going to give me, it's going to repeat the x's and repeat the y's to give me every possible combination of those two. Now the keys for the joins, the natural join is the default and will use all variables that have the same name in both tables. You can use the by equals and a variable name to specify just the variables that you want to use. You can also use the format that would go, would do something like by equals, and you could say variable 1 from the first column equals variable 2 from the other, to specify that you wanted this one to be equivalent to that in case they had different names in the two data sets. You don't have to go rename them first. You can just specify in your by comment and your by option of how you want them joined. Now I've given you 3 more exercises in this section because this is the section, let's see, did I do 3 or 2? 2 more exercises where I want you to use the joins to practice this with your flights data set. First, you're going to add the carrier name from the airlines data set to the flights data set. And then you are going to also add the airport name where it's going to. So practice on those and then come back for video 3.